We're always hearing people say to fail. Keep failing. Successful entrepreneurs, we fail repeatedly. But no one talks about what it really takes to get that failure to success, to change that no into a yes, and what to do next after you fail. Which is what we're gonna talk about today, is what do you do after you fail so that you can actually make it work for you. Before we even get started, let's go ahead. I'm gonna tell you what to comment later, but go ahead and like and subscribe because I'm trying to grow and get money. After you have a failure, you have to reframe that failure into something that makes it an opportunity. The reason why entrepreneurs love failing is because it teaches us so much. We have to accept that when we fail, we took a risk and it doesn't work out, it's because we're not in control and God is actually the one in control, and He said that's not for you. That's exactly how you're gonna know, first of all, that you're not in control, because we will have these ideas about how something is gonna work out for us and then it doesn't work out that way. Yeah, because you're not in control. God is. And He wants you to use that opportunity that failed to learn from it. So how we're going to reframe it is to see what came out of that. So in my example, right, how I had to move back in with my parents. Let me bring you back to 24. I did something super risky and I moved across the country and I decided to live in Curacao for 6 months. I assumed that the cost of living would be lower because it's Curacao, we're in the Caribbean, and it wasn't. So quickly I realized that the clients weren't coming in, the money wasn't coming in that I wanted to be able to sustain the lifestyle that I wanted to have there. And I had to pivot quickly. One day while I was making dinner in my Airbnb, kind of just in my zone, but also considering my next steps, I get a call from my parents and they tell me that they sold my house. Well, my childhood home house. Our house. So they sold the house, and this is something that we've been wanting to do for a long time because they wanted to move to Virginia Beach. So I'm getting this phone call. They're like, we sold the house, we're gonna move to Virginia Beach. Right there, inside of my failure, knowing that I wasn't going to survive long out there in Curacao, survive long out there and on that island, I saw the opportunity. I reframed my failure into the opportunity to move to another town, get to be close with my family because we have other family here, get to be close to the beach, which is something that I absolutely desired, especially living on an island where the beach is very much accessible. I got to take some pressure off of me financially and then also just get on my feet. When we're young and we're in our 20s specifically, that is when we're supposed to take risks and just do all the crazy things that don't make sense. And with that comes a lot of failures and reframing. In that moment, when I was on the phone with them, I was just relieved, and I thank God that I could leave, because one thing that I did not want to do was go back home to my parents' house, which was in the Bronx, because it's hard for you to grow in an environment where you might have had pain and trauma. There were obviously lots of good times in that home, but after leaving for so long, I did not want to go back to live there. So I was so happy that they sold it and that I got to move to a new city, right? So I'm reframing this. I get to move to a new city. I get to meet new people, make new friends, and all of that is coming together now. That's exactly what I'm living in now. So I was able to use that failure of taking a risk and moving across the world, trying to live there for 6 months, which only lasted for 1 month, and into an opportunity actually to live with my parents, which I hadn't done for a long time because I went to boarding school at 14 years old. So most of the year I was out of my home. Right after boarding school, we went to college. After college, I was in my own apartment. So now I get to kind of get back some of that time that I didn't have with my parents. All of this is reframing, and you can do this with any failure. You just have to actually extract or extrapolate all those good things, all those hypotheses of what can happen. Now, when you fail, you got to be real with yourself and ask, hey, why did this happen? And you have to be brutally honest, which is a good thing. Now we're reconfiguring the situation. So we had our failure. Now we get to reconfigure and recalibrate. Think about, okay, if this failure actually was a success, what exactly would have gone differently? Then we take what we learned. Okay, if this failure was a success, I would have learned to, or I would have had this in place, or I would have did this instead so that this wouldn't have happened. So we take those things that we learned from, that we didn't do, and then do it the next time. I am hot off a new failure, y'all. And I keep failing, and I'm learning to fall in love with it. So let me put y'all on to exactly what happened recently. I decided last year that in building my wellness brand, I really desired to have in-person events and create that community where people can feel like and feel love, connect with each other, bounce ideas off each other, and all that. My first event was a vision board event, and that went great. I collaborated with someone else who had a larger community and following, and basically we had a nice time. So now for my second event, I decided to solo organize and put something together myself. This event was the quintessential wellness diva event. It was called Pilates. So we would have a Pilates class, and then after, enjoy some matcha lattes and kind of mingle a little bit. I got the Pilates instructor, I got the matcha cart, and I got the venue. As I'm putting up this event, I decided to do 12 spots because that was a good number for the venue. And the spots were filling up very slow. They weren't coming in that quickly. So out of the 12 in total, I had 5 people who wanted to sign up. For me, that was more than enough. I would have been there with one person who signed up. For the Pilates instructor, it was not enough. The event was on Sunday, and 2 days before, on Friday, the Pilates instructor decided that she wanted to reschedule or cancel the event. Without the instructor and 2 days before the event, I didn't have the mental capacity to go and look for a new instructor. I'm gonna be honest. If I really wanted to look for a new instructor, I could have done it and it'd be done. But the thing is, I had this Pilates instructor name on the flyer, and it would have just been a lot to kind of redo. And so I was like, you know what? Fine, we're gonna just cancel the event. When you are reconfiguring your failure, you have to take full responsibility in order to see clearly the things that you did not do. You can't blame it on anyone else. I can't blame the Pilates instructor for the reason that I had to cancel. It was on me. So what I learned, I'm going through everything and I'm like, okay, what didn't I do that I actually would do next time to see this through? That was a bar for you. One thing that I would like to do moving forward, and this is a personal thing that I want to do, is meet with the people who I am working with. So if I had to do this event again, I would meet in person with the Pilates instructor. I would meet in person with the matcha person. Because when you meet with people in person who you are working with and doing something together with, you get to see their vibes, see their energy, and if you actually want to move forward working with them. Another thing that I learned from this is that I need something binding so that people cannot flake last minute. For me, that's a contract. And also, when you are evaluating your failure, it's good to talk with a friend, because one of my friends actually told me about a contract when I was basically kind of venting about having to cancel. She was like, yeah, a contract. And I was like, that's so real. If I would have had the Pilates instructor in a contract, or even the matcha cart, the venue and I had a contract, okay? I had to sign stuff before. And I was like, yeah, this person who has a business, the venue that I was working with, they made me sign a bunch of contracts, the waivers. I just never signed contracts with the people that I was working with. So that's something else I'm gonna put in place moving forward if I want to do more events. So I'm looking at this failure, Pilates failure, and I'm saying, if I was to do this again, I'm gonna meet up with the people and I'm gonna put us into a contract together so that we both have a responsibility to whatever it is that we're building and we see it through completely. And if we decide not to see it through, there's some type of penalty that happens. The hardest thing to do after a failure is to get back up again. That's the final way we're going to turn failure into success, is we are going to restart. We gotta get up. Get yourself up and try it again. Except we're not trying, we're actually doing. I suggest too that when you get up and do something else, you go even bigger. You make the risk bigger, because with bigger risk comes bigger reward. And also, you are proving to yourself that you're not afraid of failure if you go bigger in your next attempt to do something. You were dating a college athlete and it failed? Go date you an NBA or NFL player next. Don't go down. Go up. And that's exactly what I'm doing, and I'm in the process of doing that right now. I said it was a thing for me. It was a plan for me, an idea for me to have these events in person to really meet with people because I like that. I'm an introvert, but I realized recently that actually if I'm in my follicular or I'm ovulating, maybe early luteal, late menstrual phase, I like to be social. That gives me energy. So these events are happening, and I'm in the process of planning a new one, which is even bigger. There's more at stake, higher risk, and higher reward. Something that you'll learn is that anxiety that comes with the unknown is going to continue to decrease. There's a lot of things that you can do to help it decrease, but one of the best things is to just put it into practice, as in put into practice being in situations in which you would be anxious. Because the more you're in those situations, the less you're actually going to be anxious about it. For Pilates, I was so super duper anxious. For this next event I'm doing, yeah, I have a little bit of anxiety, but I'm learning to sit in it and actually turn it into excitement instead of anxiety, because anxiety does nothing for me. So keep putting yourself into uncomfortable situations where you might fail and you might succeed. Since I've been so vulnerable with you and I've shared a couple failures that I've had, go ahead and put a failure that you have had recently, big or small, in the comments so we can heal together as a collective. Because once you see your failure and everybody else's failure, you're gonna be like, oh, it's common to fail. In fact, we should be failing. I want you to fail so that you can succeed bigger later. Reframe, recalibrate, restart. That's how you are going to make your failures success.